If you're a business leader and need to make more effective decisions at times that matter, this training will be for you. I know that 99% of you who are operating at a high level, what you actually need is a framework for you to lead in on to be the person that you need to be at the right time. You don't always need to be wired for war. You don't always need to be wired for challenge. Sometimes you have to actually sit back, listen, and actually be that confidant for someone to actually make sure that they feel safe, to give you the information, to utilize it. In this training, I'm going to show you exactly what it means to actually control your state. People have talked about this on the internet. You'd heard a lot from Tony Robbins about controlling your state. Instead of just giving you this sort of high, what you need to do and be in state, what I'm going to do is show you a framework that you can take, steal, utilize on a daily basis. If you control your state, you control the game. This is something that I have massively learned from when it comes down to not only being a professional athlete, but when I've worked with high-level CEOs and executives and those that are looking to bootstrap businesses from millions to billions. The name of the game still remains, is actually how do you have control? Most people in that environment, whether you're a CEO, founder, entrepreneur, you know full well that you have control of nothing. All you can do is take charge of the chaos when it lands. So our job is for you to have a little bit of understanding that changing your state to be the person that you need to be at that time actually stems from understanding a little bit around your stress management and your stress physiology, because that's what actually happens. A state is actually a behavior that's exhibited through your perception. There's quite a deep way of saying is that everyone has a different version of the world and it comes down to reality, because is it actually happening, or are your emotions taking over, and are you actually struggling to deal with them and make effective decisions at the right time? The Yerkes-Dodson arousal curve is one of the old frameworks that understands around what actual stress physiology is. And instead of me, I'm not going to go super deep into this, but layman's terms, if you are hyper aroused, so you're too low, you actually aren't going to make effective decisions because you're actually going to be ineffective or bored. If you go hyper aroused, you're actually going to be exhausted, have versions of burnout. Everything's a fire, and every decision that you're making is only going to be rapid fire. You're not going to think about it, so you're not sure if it's going to be effective. And everything looks like a target in this situation. Where we actually want to be is that Goldilocks analogy of not too hot, not too cold. We want to be just enough stressed or aroused to make good decisions, but also calm enough to make effective decisions and the right ones at the right time. So what you want to be is right in the middle of that arousal curve. If you guys and ladies, obviously from my journey, rugby was very much a massive part of my life, and the biggest state management exercise that you can do that you will ever feel, see, or be a part of is actually watching the haka with the All Blacks. I promise you, no matter if you like rugby or not, if you're sat getting chills thinking about it now, when you actually sit in a stadium and listen to the haka and actually what it does for the players, it brings them. They use it for mana. They're using it for them to actually be ready for war. They're changing who they need to be at that time. If you guys have read a book called Legacy by James Keir, it talks around actually their mindset is a blue mindset. This looks very hyper aggressive, where actually this is actually how they find focus. If you're a CEO of a business, you're leading a team, you want to make faster, more effective decisions, what you need is to be geared up, ready to be on the brink of in between excitement and anxiousness, because that's where you find true flow state. But the reality is actually how do you bring that state to fruition in real time without you standing at your desk doing the haka in front of people? That probably, in some scenarios, that might be a given, but I probably would advise it at a high level if I were you. So when it comes down to a stress cycle, this is very, very simple stuff. You have a stressor, you increase adrenaline, you upregulate heartbeat, and you upregulate, you liberate energy basically, and then you actually have cortisol, which actually dials you in, and that the posh term is it liberates blood sugar. This is just a little bit of understanding around that stress physiology just before we understand how to induct that state. But the key piece of this puzzle for you to sort of understand is that your beliefs, your imagination, and actually your past and previous experiences all run through the same neural pathway. An example, if I sit here and I dream about, I played against Rosslyn Park years ago, where their back row decided to he decided he just wanted to pick a fight with me. I ended up breaking his ribs on the second tackle he hit him. But if I remember the feeling deeply about what that felt like, it was the best feeling ever. You'll never have anything like it. I can already start to feel the feelings that I had back then. They were over 12 years ago. But from an estate induction standpoint, I know that you'll see this when I if anybody of you watches on social media, when I train, I'll take a massive deep breath through my nose and blow out really vigorously. That is a contextual cue for me to dial in hyper focus and make sure I've got my technique right. My point, I'm inducting a state. The key piece around that puzzle is actually how you respond. And this is where, when it comes down to, is choosing your moments where you have to be the person that you need to be. It's actually a skill and an art form. And this is the reason why leadership is a great area. And actually leading yourself and being a leader is extremely difficult compared to just being somebody who takes orders or is an instructor. So what I want you to do is understand firstly is about who do you need to be at that time. Okay, you'll see that I'm with my family. I do not need to be wired for business when I'm stood there in the middle of the Peak District with my kid and my wife, and obviously this ginger weapon. Vice versa. This is when we were out in Dubai doing an immersion day. This is when I had to. I wanted to perform because I can't let any of my clients out deadlift me. But more to the point, I have to be a certain person at a certain time. So who do you need to be at that right time? Then what we need to understand here is actually state induction. What's going to give you the piece of the puzzle that allows you to be the most effective at that right time? An example, high-level CEOs and executives or people that are running teams who have got lots of planning, a way of utilizing a state induction piece could be having a certain pen that you write with. Every time that you use that pen, you become somebody else. The pen that I have, again, it's not here, it's on the desk over there, that I use for all of my creativity and my understanding was actually my dad's pen. My dad was a creative director. His job was to be creative. When I have a state induction, my state induction is when I'm holding that pen, I take a little piece of what my dad had and I use it for myself. When I played rugby, as on the screen, I actually had two things. I always wore a gum shield because all the rest of my face is absolutely melted, but my teeth are the only thing that I can wholeheartedly say, apart from I haven't got your bright white turkey veneers slapping yet. Don't worry, I won't have them either. I always wore a gum shield, but on my gum shield, you'll see that I have Batman. It wasn't that I became Batman when I played rugby, even though no one's ever seen me in the same room as him, so you don't know if I have. No, I'm joking. I used Batman because that was my version of freedom. A superhero to me could be whoever I wanted to be. And when I put this gum shield in, I became somebody different. When I stepped over the whitewash and I had that in my mouth, I was a gladiator, full stop. And the reason why I would outbleed people basically was purely on the basis that I was a different state. I can't even imagine being that sat here right now for the same reason. So when we're looking at state induction, there is a 6-step process. And this process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through what they are. I'm going to run them back and give you some questions for you to take, and I want you to write them down in your journal. You can take these and you can understand them. You do not need to have these written down in front of you. You'll start to learn who you need to be and when, and build rituals around that state induction, that state management, so that suddenly you can start making better decisions. Not the one thing most executives take is they take everything so personally. It's a violation towards them as a person, where realistically in the professional arena, that is not effective. If you're taking things personally and emotionally, you're actually going to be reactive. And in that context, that's where you're going to lose out and you're going to miss deals, or you're going to blow big decisions that actually count in that real time. The first piece is actually awareness of what you need to be and where you are, the situation. What context do you need to be in? And it's identifying what conflict that is. When the conflict means the conflict around who you are right now and who you need to be. What's the bottleneck that's not allowing it? Like I said about training, if you're calm, relaxed and chilled listening to Shavasana, but you've got a deadlift double body weight, the visual doesn't match the audio. Who do you need to be in that context? Then it's actually having access. Access means a situation that you've done before that you can imagine that allows you to take on that state. Like I use rugby as a prime example. I can use so many different pieces of that puzzle that allow me to access different versions of myself. Like I talk around, a lot of high achieving individuals have got dark energy. They know that they're an underdog deep down, and they can use a lot of them use it all the time, and that's why they're burnt out and they're frustrated. Whereas if I use that underdog piece at the right time, I outwork everybody, because I know, but it's counterproductive in some respect if it's long term. It's like stress. You want stress to be acute. It happens and it finishes. It's the same with resilience. But what you don't want is you don't want to be on. You're not always that person, because otherwise that's why you're getting burnt out. So finding access in that previous performance and finding a memory where you were who you were at the right time will start to neurologically allow you to become that person and make and take on the physiology needed to deal with that challenge. And it's actually how do you amplify it, and that's more so how do you increase it. Like I said about from my side of things is Todd Herman talks around having a totem. He did the book called The Alter Ego Effect, and having something with you. An example, I'm currently speaking with my iPad pen. When I'm delivering this training, I know that I can draw on my iPad and I can make abbreviations or whatever, because I feel that's effective for this platform. But there's also a part of it which means that I've got it in my hand. That it means I've got to be a person that is delivering on this. That's again what we're looking about, amplification, and actually adopting that persona. Be the person that you need to be at the right time. If you're going into conflict, you don't want to be passive. You have to match their energy. You also have to have a calm, collective thought process that allows you to process information at a non-emotional rate. Because if you're emotional, reactive people lose. That's where you adopt that persona. Calm, cool, collected. It's the same with train hard, fight easy is a term that people use or in relation to the military. Because if you train like you're going into war, when you go into war, you are already geared up for it. This is not necessarily for people that are going into war, but the same principle applies. Applying it real time means that you've got that access state, and then you have that opportunity for you to utilize it at the right time. Like I said, it shouldn't be a long-term thing. You don't want to be the same person all the time, because a businessman, when I'm a dad, I'm a dad. I do treat George like an athlete, because he is going to be an athlete whether he likes it or not. I'm joking. But the same thing applies. And then is actually analyze it. Find markers for you to understand what makes it work. That's the name of the game. So let's run it back for you so you can have a bit of an understanding around this. So first things first, from that situation we wrote down from the awareness of where you are to where you are currently right now, and who do you need to be at that point to access it? What's your previous memory that you can use for it? An example, this was me doing an ultra marathon. The conflict that I had was I was going into deep water to perform from a physiological standpoint. I also knew that the depth of that was difficult, but then vice versa. As I moved into the access piece, I remembered that I'd been through hard challenges before. I'd come back from a knee injury that had my leg snapped in half by a horse and said I wasn't going to run again. So running through the mountains and enjoying myself wasn't actually a problem. We then go to amplify. And how can you increase that experience and have that totem effect in that? When I was a rugby player, I used to strap my wrists up, and I used to do that every single game without doubt. When I was running, you'll see that I was an ultra. To be an ultra marathon runner, you need two things: glary rascal shoes and also some mad sunglasses that make you look good on Instagram. Those are the two things you need. But again, I use that to amplify my ultra marathon. We then actually adopted that persona, and what that means from my standpoint is I knew other people that had done this. I knew other people that had who had ran that level of distance, but I also knew that the big aim that I was trying to do is explore my capacity, and I accepted that was part of the stress. To learn more about my capacity, I had to challenge myself to do so. So I adopted that persona of explorer, adventurer, high performer, all those cool things. And like I said, what I used to do is I used to have my glasses on, and also I used to wear my hat backwards. It was just part of what I did. Then actually, how did I apply it? How I applied it was how did I reaffirm to myself that was the right thing to do? Relation to, I had a training program, I had structure, I knew that I was earning the right to get there, all that cool stuff. So I was taking that characteristic and I was running it through a physiological process. We then had analysis, which was then purely on the basis of, was I getting better or was I not getting better at that running piece? That was it. So for you, as you said, finding markers of that success are key, because the key piece of this puzzle I want you to take away from this: operating at your level is not normal. The decisions that you're making right now not only have to be faster for the day and age of whatever AI and other people that are apparently coming to get you, but you need to make the right decision at the right time. That is elite level performance when it comes down to leadership. It's elite level performance when it comes down to growing your business, for you to make more money, have more impact, but realistically not lose yourself in the process and feel like you're losing or that you're drowning. What you need to do is control your state, you'll control the game. The more that you can control your state, the more effective you are at the right time. You need to match the energy needed for the position that you're in. The position that you're asking for, you have to match that energy. Bring yourself to that level or down to that level, regardless of what it is. And who do you need to be when you're in different scenarios? That is the key piece of this puzzle. So anyway, I digress. I hope that was helpful. I hope we've taken a high level emotional piece of the puzzle that people are giving you words for, and I've given you a step-by-step framework of how you can elicit it from a physical standpoint, a mental performance standpoint, and a professional standpoint. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more about Built for Pressure, documents underneath this video, vice versa, explore the channel for more information around how to perform at your best with your life, how you lead, and how you perform.